Hi there, and welcome to Friday Live with Sarah. So, as you can see, today I am joined by Gillian Whitney, sorry, Gillian, and we're going to be talking all about video. So, we're going to be talking a bit about job applications and how the increase in requesting those kind of videos has come about and how you can stand the best chance of being noticed. So, as always, please do use the comments to say hi and let me know where you're from, and feel free to ask any questions, which we'll try to answer as we go through. So, before we start, Gillian, do you want to just give a little bit of a brief intro as to what you do?
Sure. I'm excited to be here, Sarah. So thank you very much for having me today. It's always fun. Love my friends across the pond. It's great. It's great. So I am a video marketing coach. And what that means is I help people with their LinkedIn video. I also do YouTube, but LinkedIn's primarily my thing. And I help people with easy peasy video solutions. And I love that easy peasy because that's what we need with video because it's so intimidating. So I help people with the strategy, the tech, and the fear and all that stuff. I'm your gal. So that's me.
Brilliant. Thank you. So we've had a couple of messages already. So Jeff saying hello, ladies. Wonderful to see you this Friday. So hi, Jeff. Thank you for joining. And from John. So John's in Chicago. So hi, John. Thank you
Oh,
so much
another
for
American.
joining. I know. Yeah, I think it's this time zone, isn't it? So very
Yes.
early for you. I know, Gillian.
Yes.
So thank you very much. So yes, Gillian is in Las Vegas, so it's super early for her. So
Right
really
on.
grateful that she's come here. Okay, so we're just going to start with going through a few questions. So, why do you think there's been this rise in the number of organisations asking for videos in job applications, Gillian?
Well, let's start off with the pandemic. So
Yes, yeah.
it's like the pandemic hit, the world went virtual. We jumped on Zoom. Wish I had bought stock beforehand. Didn't think that far. But the world jumped onto Zoom, Google Meet, and everything else. And as a consequence, it's like we are now in this online virtual world. It's not going away anytime soon. And so we've got remote jobs, we've got virtual events. And I think from what I understand of the job seeking space is that this is now a skill. This is a tech skill that is a must moving forward. This is like you got to know how to type and you got to know how to do video because you're going to be expected for any job in order to get on, Zoom meetings and things like that, do virtual events, meet with coworkers, all sorts of different stuff. So video is here to stay in that essence. It's also too goes with marketing, whether it's big businesses, small businesses, whatever. And I think the reason why it's so big in the job market, space right now is that when people are applying for jobs, there are so many candidates for jobs. So you've got, musical chairs, you've got 200 people juggling to get one chair. And video is that edge that can take you over the top because to a possible recruiter or company that's looking at you, if they can see that you have a video, that puts you above everybody else who's flat, who's just a piece of paper. And I like to think of it too that you could outsource your resume. You could have somebody go and make you the most gorgeous resume and make you just sound like, oh my gosh, this person, like, let's just send them to outer space. They're so incredible. But with video, that's you. You can't outsource your videos. So, how you show up, you might look really great on paper, but if you get on video and you can't speak properly, you can't look at the camera, you have strange mannerisms and things like distractions. Those are the things that are going to shine through. So, really nailing video, I think it's a must and probably one of those top 3 things now for what you should do for job hunting.
Yeah, I agree. And I think more and more often now I'm seeing organisations that are saying you must supply a video as part of your application. So it's not even an optional thing. So
Yep.
you need to kind of stay within the time zones that they suggest and cover what they're looking for, all of that kind of stuff, which we'll cover a little bit more as we go. Okay, so let's say I'm a job seeker and I'm not comfortable with video. So how do I get started and what do I cover? So what's your
Okay.
kind of top tips for that?
That's the toughie. Okay, so the first thing I want everyone to know is we're all uncomfortable with video. So anybody say, "Oh, but I'm that kind of person that's, totally not comfortable." we're all not comfortable with video. So know that there's nothing wrong with you. We're all self-conscious. It's, kind of all the stuff we drag around from our childhood of being, centered out and stuff like that. So nobody is a natural born video person. It took me years to be able to get from behind the camera. I'm an introvert. It did not come natural for me. So the thing that I can tell people is the only way is to just get in. But you do not have to do that in a public space. Do it in a private space and do it in what I call baby steps. So what you want to do is you want to just slowly get comfortable just looking at yourself, being comfortable talking. So some things that I talk about is, get your phone and just start talking into your phone. You don't even have to send those videos to anybody. It's just practice. And the more you can practice, the more you do it, the more comfortable you're going to feel. Sarah, I know you're into running. So it's the same sort of thing. In the beginning, it's going to be very, very hard,
Yeah.
but you get better. Remember those Rocky movies? It
Yeah.
was like Rocky would get out of bed and he'd schlep out of bed and he'd eat his, drink his eggs. And he was always running on the streets of Philadelphia and he'd look at those stairs and he'd be like, oh, but he kept going every morning. And then on the last day before the fight, he's like flying up the stairs and cheering. Well, that's kind of how we do video. Just those little, you got to start somewhere. And Rocky could not have just gone in the ring. He had to start and do this. And that's the way to get comfortable with video. Just do it privately.
Yeah, definitely. And I think you absolutely get used to it, don't you? I mean, if somebody had told me 2 years ago I'd have been doing this, I would have just laughed at them because I actively avoided video at all costs. But you kind of just get used to it, don't you? And then I think everyone also thinks that, well, I don't sound like that. It's that whole voice thing, isn't it? When you hear your voice back, you think I don't sound like that. But yeah, the practicing, the more you can practice, the better. But also allowing a bit of natural as well. That's the thing. So don't worry too much if you make a mistake because that's normal.
And you would do that in a normal conversation. And I always tell people, you think video is hard, come and try and do a live where anything could go wrong. There's no way that you can prepare for a live. It's like, I don't have a teleprompter here telling me what to say. I just have to trust that something logical will pop into my brain.
Exactly. We got a question come through. So Michael, he's saying, do you have any suggestions on where someone could practice to get more comfortable before doing a video under interview circumstances?
I feel like I have to pay Michael because this is like my number one favorite question that I have. And I'm going to tell everybody the best kept secret is LinkedIn. So LinkedIn has this thing that if you go into LinkedIn and you look under jobs, that icon at the top, and then you click on jobs, and then there's something on the left-hand side in the menu that says interview prep. And if you click on that, what you'll see is there are a whole list of questions that you can go through that, there you go. And here you can get to this and you can actually do a video. So the practice is record a video and look at the top. It actually says that it's private. I don't know if you can do it while we're doing it, Sarah, because we're probably using up your camera.
Yeah, it might confuse it, but I've got it going. Okay, so I need to set it up here so that
probably because we're doing live at the same time, so that the computer is saying, "Wait a minute, you're using your camera over here." But these are going to create private videos. These are not videos that will go on your news feed. They don't go anywhere, and they don't even have to be saved. And that's the fun thing about this. And what you'll see is on the left side is a whole list of categories of questions that are like prompts. So there might be one that's like, tell me a little bit about yourself. What's your greatest strength?
Why should we hire you? All of that. Yeah.
All these great interview questions that you would normally get, you can practice these. Now, if you want, you can save these. And they even have a couple of examples of like, here's how an expert would answer that question. So that if you're like, I wouldn't know what to say to that, here you go. You've got some tips. So the nice thing is you can record your answer and a couple of things happen. Number one, you get sort of artificial intelligence, if you so choose, that will give you feedback and say, this is the speed at which you talk. So you might find out, oh my goodness, I'm talking a mile a minute. I need to learn to slow down. Or it might be, hello, are you still alive? Because you're
Mm.
talking so slowly. We're just
Yeah.
it's falling asleep here. But the other thing too is that you can save these and you could do the question again and again and again. And then you could get to see, I'm getting a little bit better every time I come in and do this. And then this is what I even love the most, Sarah. You can take these videos and you can send them privately to somebody who is a first level connection. So say for instance, say you were Michael's coach. Michael could send this video to you and ask for feedback. And when he sends it, it's really awesome because it says, hi, I'm working on my interview skills. I wonder if you'd look at this and give me some feedback. That's all done by LinkedIn. You don't even
Yeah,
have to
it's
type that
perfect, isn't
in.
it? Yeah.
It's perfect. And you
And
can
they
even pull it back. So if you decide, you know what, I don't really want her to see that, you can pull the video back. You just say, I don't want anybody to see this anymore, and it's gone. So you have massive control. You can't download these. Nobody can ever download these and embarrass you. They're all within this very private space. I think it's the
Yeah, it's
best
perfect,
kept
isn't it?
secret.
And they've added all these other categories now. So it initially started just with common questions that you can see here, but if you click on categories now, it
Look
gives you
at those.
specific ones for accountant, business analyst, sales development. So I think this is excellent. It's
It's
really, really
awesome.
good.
And I even recommend it for business people. Like it's not like it's well, it's fabulous for anybody who's looking for a job. It's
Yeah,
fabulous practice because the questions are so relevant. But
yeah,
even for business professionals, I recommend it because it's a great way to just get used to having that camera presence. And
yeah,
then you see, oh, I wasn't looking at the camera. My lighting was bad. You know, look at your technical space. I fidget too much. You know, there's
yeah.
so many things you could be
Yeah,
looking for.
there is.
Great
And
tool.
it tells you about filler words as well, doesn't it? So if you're kind of going, it tells you how many of those you made as well. So it's really good. And as Jeff says here, best part, it is free. So yeah, most of it is free. There are some bits that you can pay extra for. So if you want to watch other people's sample answers and that kind of thing, that's part of premium. But yeah, it's excellent tool.
Yeah.
So Paul is saying, so true about doing a LinkedIn live, Gillian. Brilliant.
That's true.
And Michael's asked a follow-on question saying, are there any forums that provide constructive feedback? So I've not seen any, but I know Gillian's thinking of launching a subscription
I'm
group, so that could be an option.
that could be an option. And actually, I don't have it in place yet, but that is something that I'm working on. So if anybody wants to follow me as a result of this live and stay in touch with me, or connect with me. If you're on this
Yeah,
live, connect with me and just say I was on the live, and I'll connect with you. And that is something that I am in the process of putting together as a membership group so that I can provide in a private space constructive feedback. And I can tell people this is what we need to be doing. And it's just a better way to do that than just working one-to-one with me. Although you can do that too.
yeah,
But those are the
perfect.
things that I would recommend.
Excellent, thank you. Okay, so thank you for that question, Michael. That's really useful. So in terms of tech, what kind of tech? So if someone is just submitting a video for an interview, for an application, what kind of tech would you recommend that they use?
Well, it sort of depends because a lot of the job applications have the actual video built right in, or sometimes they ask you to submit a video before your application is complete. So you have to kind of be flexible to go both ways. So I know there's a lot of people that like to do things on their phone, but you need to be tech savvy enough that if you're going to be filling out your application on a computer, but you've got your intro video on a phone, you need to know, well, how am I going to get that off my phone onto my computer and
Mm,
vice versa? So there's all sorts of different things that you can work with. So in terms of technology, I always say, don't go out and buy anything. Use what you have. So if you have a computer and a webcam, that's good. If you have your phone, that's good. Nowadays, your iPhone or an Android phone, they have excellent cameras and they can do some stuff. So that, you can work with different programs to get things off your phone onto your computer. But a lot of days I'm finding that the technology is like, if you say, for instance, have Canva allows you to record a video, and you can do that on your phone or your computer. And what's really cool with a tool like Canva is that it's in the cloud. So if you record on your phone to Canva and then you go back to your computer, guess what? You got that video in Canva on your computer. So you need to look for programs like that then you don't have to go, "Oh, do I need," because you can't email a video. You can't
Yeah.
email a video to yourself. But there's tools like WeTransfer and stuff to get things back and forth. But all that being said, I suggest basic tech would be a decent camera. So a webcam. If you've got a laptop, you've probably got a pretty good, you've probably got a pretty good camera just in your laptop. A standard webcam, I use a Logitech C90, so that's just a good piece of tech. For a phone, iPhone, Android, those are all good. They have excellent cameras, and it doesn't matter if you use the front or back, they're all good quality. And then the other two things that I suggest is good lighting. So if you are in a dark place, like right now, it's really early in Las Vegas, so there's no light yet. So I have to have a ring light on
Yeah.
so that I'm well lit. But natural light is good, and always make sure you're facing into the light. Don't have the light behind you because that puts you in shadow. So even if you can't afford a light, just take your computer, put it in front of the window so that you're facing out. That's nice. You get to see the,
See the
sunshine and all
outdoors.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it will go back on you. So light's
Yeah.
really important. And then the last thing is it's really good to have a microphone. So it could be earbuds that plug into your computer or plug into your phone. That's good enough to start, but audio is important because sometimes, like even on lives, you can hear people, they're echoey and it's not a good thing. So those are the three things I recommend. And then the last thing, the bonus, ABC, always be using Chrome. Chrome is so
Okay.
important for these job interviews applications with videos, because a lot of times if they're built into the application and they want you to do the video right then and there, which is horrifying, but it happens.
It does. Yeah. Yeah.
You got to be on Chrome and make sure your microphone's plugged in and that you're good to go before you even start typing.
Yeah. Okay. That's an excellent tip. I hadn't even thought of that. So yeah, definitely good practice there.
Yeah, I
Um,
think it's because so many programs now automatically interface with Chrome,
mm,
and so you're just so much better off using Chrome.
yeah. Okay. Okay. So in terms of content, so if they're saying it needs to be between 3 and 5 minutes, what do you decide? Do you go for 3? Do you go for 5? Do
For
you
3.
3? Yeah.
It's always better to go under than over. It's like the other day I
Yeah.
was helping somebody with their LinkedIn cover story,
Yeah.
and they went a little too long, and it was just like heartbreaking because it was like, okay, just chop off the end because nobody's gonna notice. It's better to be a little bit short. And I know the other day I was applying for a grant, and as part of the grant process, I had to make a 90-second video, and I was like, ugh,
Mm,
like I didn't even see it till I was at the very end, and you're like page after page after page, with this sort of like type form, and then it's like, now submit a 90-second video, and it's just like, ah.
oh.
So I knew, luckily it's saved, and I could go and I could make one, and
Mm,
I literally just said, okay, number one, what do they want to know? Because that really is important. Make sure you understand, what do they want a video about? It's not always what you think it is. Like, make sure you're really focusing on what it is. So in this instance, they said, what would you use the money for with this grant? So it was like, okay. So I just kind of went back, thought
mm,
about it, and then I kind of drafted out what I would say. And then I always say, in Toastmasters, we say 3 is a magic number. So 3 points, always just go with 3 points, and that will keep you on track. So aim low, try to get your video as short as possible, because nature is you're going to go longer. It just happens.
yeah.
It just happens. I make 2-minute videos that are never 2 minutes. They're always 3 or 4. It
Yeah.
just happens.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Excellent.
three tips. Just
3
have 3
tips.
tips to do in your video,
Yeah.
and think 1 minute per tip. That's
Yeah.
a really good way to stay focused.
Yeah. Okay. So Jeff's now asked a question. I can't remember what you said, Gillian. Should we have a background or a green screen?
I don't. I think if you have the space and, it sort of depends where you are. Green screens are good, but they can get fiddly. They're expensive. You got to now keep putting them up, putting them down. So I always just say find a nice place in your house. Most of us are home now. Find a place in your house that you can put a do not disturb sign. That's worth, going to a hotel and stealing one and
Yeah.
putting a do not disturb sign on your door so people know, or even a sign that says recording in process, on the air,
Yeah,
something
on
like
air.
that.
Should get an on air light, yeah.
But I've never had a green screen, but, I travel, so I'm kind of up and down, and I wouldn't
Mm,
want to, be fiddling with that. But if you're in a place where if behind you, you're gonna see kids jumping on trampolines and you're gonna see, people walking back and forth with the laundry, then you probably gotta get that green screen.
yeah, okay. Okay, so we've got a fairly long question here from Farhan. So he's saying the interviewer isn't a psychologist or a magician who judges you in a few minutes of interview. Either he, she is suitable for the job or not. Most of the time, great skills or knowledge, but can get confused during the interview and get rejection. Don't you think that's unfair to that person? So
Of
I mean, I
course.
guess it is, but I guess that is the bonus of a video application, isn't it? You can record it lots and lots of times until you are confident.
Yep.
So
And what I find for the most part is think of your videos not to stress your skills, because your skills are being stressed in your application, in your resume, cover letter, all the written documentation is really going to highlight what your skills are that you bring
mm,
to the table for the job. Think of your video as people looking at you want to just know, are you a good fit for our team personality wise? Just what are your communication skills? And what I usually recommend to people, especially if they're job hunting, and talk about a story. Stories sell. People
mm,
like stories. Stories put people at ease. So if you have a story and your story is about you, these are personal stories. This isn't where you go, the so and so walk into a
mm,
bar. It's not those kind of stories. It's more along the lines of, do you have some stories that you can tell that might relate to this position? So they could be stories from your personal life, but they could be stories from your work experience about, I was working at this company and we got this incredible client and we loved this client, but at the last minute they were going to pull out. And I came up with this idea that maybe we could do this. And, it was awesome. Everybody celebrated. The client didn't leave. And it's a really nice way that, like, you're talking about the story, which is showing a lot about you in a very indirect way. So those are the kind of things that I would say, I always call it tell a story, make a point. Pick out some stories, mine your life, kind of like a gold miner, gold panner. Look at the stories in your life that might exemplify the skills that you feel would be the top ones for those positions. And I just think that really could give you an advantage. But I agree with you. It's difficult because there are some people who are just really, really uptight and they would be perfect for the job, but
yeah.
just the video alone, and that's why the more you can practice and be comfortable, I think the better you'll be.
Absolutely. And that leads us on very nicely to the next question. So we've covered a lot of this already. So how do I make myself look good, stroke, style, knowledgeable? And I think your point about the three aims is really good. And we've referred earlier to make sure you know the job description. What is it they want to know? All of that is really, really important, isn't it?
Oh, it absolutely is. It absolutely is. And what I tell people to truly focus on is be yourself. Be who you really are. Because if you're going to go work with these people, you don't want to be that fake person that, like, oh, at the interview, we thought you were like this. And then when we got to know you, you were totally different. Because you know what? The job won't be a good fit for you either if you can't
Yeah.
always be yourself. And one thing that I think is a great tip is, I know somebody who's been looking for a job, and he was working with a coach, and the coach said, go to all of the people in your life that are important to you and ask them, what is it about me that makes me special? And he came to me and I said, well, I think you're really good at communication skills because I know you from Toastmasters. You're very funny. He's been in speech contests and all sorts of different things. And that was awesome because he could recognize that's one of his sort of super strengths, that he's got a good unique personality with a great sense of humor. So now he knows that that's kind of one of the things to let come out, because
Mm.
that is who he is. He has a very nice, light sense of humor, and that might be something he might have thought, oh, it's not appropriate in a job interview to ever display any humor. Well, and of course you wouldn't be crazy about it, but it could be that it's lightheartedness, and that's
Yeah,
part of your personality. So I think the thing is, go and just realize what are the things that make you you, and
yeah.
let those come to light.
Yeah, definitely. I always say to people, go and ask when it comes to things like what are your strengths, go and ask your friends, your colleagues, your family members what they think they are,
Exactly.
and you'll probably be surprised at some of the things that come up. But it's really good
Yeah.
practice.
Yep.
So I see Jeff's made a comment now. So Lisa, you're showing up as LinkedIn user on the live. You should talk to Sarah about if you would like to have your picture show. Okay, I'll
Don't
quickly flick
blankets.
over. So this basically, Lisa, if you go into your settings and privacy area, you'll see here, and down here where you've got visibility of your so you can see here it says profile discovery and visibility off link. If you go in and change that to yes, then your name would get showing. So there you go, Lisa. I think you've asked another question there. So if you go to this page and switch this to say yes, then you should then have your picture showing in your name. So give it a go, and if not, let me know and we can look into that again. So I'll stop that
Good
sharing.
tips.
So thank you, Jeff. Okay, so subtitles. Do I need subtitles?
That's always a toughie. Okay, so first of all, I'm a huge, huge caption fan, subtitles, because I believe in accessibility,
Hmm.
and we do want our videos to be accessible for all, for the deaf, the hard of hearing. English is a second language. Subtitles are so important, and they're counting on us to have those. So I say, whatever you can do to make subtitles happen, please do it.
Yep.
However, that I primarily say for news feed videos. So if you're talking about videos that you want to post to LinkedIn that are going to show up in the news feed, just know that is the way that you should go, because people will scroll on past videos without, they can't watch them. You know, they're sometimes they're not even in a place that if they wanted to listen, they can't listen. So 85% of the people watch videos with the sound off. So just
Mm.
know that. And that's the default on LinkedIn. You're going to be shown with the sound off. So you spend a lot of time making videos, make those subtitles.
Yeah.
Now, if you're applying for a job and you have to submit a video, I don't think that you have to really fiddle around with that. It could make you look great. You know, it's
Mm.
just like one of those things. It's kind of like making a cake and putting the icing and the, cherry on the top. I think it could make somebody go, wow. And I know when I was applying for this grant the other day, it was kind of interesting because I just really have a big thing about subtitles, and I decided I would make subtitles to go with my 45-second video. And I went to upload them, and I saw that when I went to upload the video, sure enough, I could add subtitles. And I was really excited that I'd
Mm.
gone to the trouble of making my SRT file, which is what we use for those closed captions. And gosh darn it, they didn't accept an SRT file. And I
Oh.
went, well, that's weird, because that's kind of the industry standard, is an
Mm.
SRT file, but they wanted something called a VTT file. And I went, I
Okay.
don't even know what that is. So I had
Wow.
to Google it, because I'm the Google goddess. So I had to
Mm.
Google it, and it was like, okay, yeah, that's, I guess, for like TV and stuff like that, they use it. So anyways, I went back to my subtitling program. I was able to download that kind of format. So those are good with different tools. I think I was using Subly, and I do love
Mhm.
Subly because it does have those
Yeah.
variations and even text files. So I was able to download that, upload it, and darn it, it wouldn't accept that one. So then it was
Oh.
just like, okay, I'm on a mission now. So I
Yeah.
went back to Subly, and then I embedded the captions in, called burned captions, open captions, downloaded the file with those captions burnt in, uploaded it, and I was like, gosh darn it, I am not going to lose to this computer here,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So, and I just thought, maybe because I'm applying for a grant, maybe it's the edge that I could have, that somebody might say, nobody else bothered to caption it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, agree, definitely.
So
And as you
all
say,
being
there's some
said, if you're just uploading it to go with an interview, or if it's a video that you do an application and they just say, click here, do your video, don't worry about the subtitles in those
yeah.
instances.
But like you say, it will give you the edge, won't it, if you can do it.
Yeah.
So that's cool. Okay, Jeff said perfect, and Lisa is saying okay, thanks, Sarah. So great. Hopefully that will be sorted. Okay, so we've covered most of the other questions now, but in terms of timing, so if I've got to record this 3-minute video, how long should I give myself to do that? So I'm someone that usually leaves myself very little time because I work best to pressure. But someone else, what would you recommend?
I always just say video takes a lot of time and
Yeah.
it's amazing. So, and this is usually if people are going to be making videos, I sometimes even tell them do what's called batch work, where if you're going to get the camera out, your hair looks nice, your makeup's on, you got everything goes, make 5 videos, because then that way you've got 5 to like fiddle with later. So I truly believe in batching my work, but
Mm,
I find that you need to do a lot of sort of pre-work before you turn on the camera. So the first thing is always sit down and think about, so if you were going to just make a little, 1 minute interview application video, here's what I would suggest. You probably want to spend about an hour, set aside an hour to do this, because number one, you probably need to really sit down and figure out what exactly am I going to say in this video. Don't ever just wing it. Wing it,
mm.
there should not be with video at all. Never wing it.
Especially for a job application.
No, no. So first of all, make sure you understand, what do they want you to accomplish in the video? Think about the timing. And then, like I said, maybe just figure 3 points, write those points down, and then you might want to write out your whole script. This is what I would say. Time yourself. You can just get a little timer, read it out loud to yourself and say, oh, okay, I've got a 3 to 5 minute video that times in at 3 minutes. Read your script 3 times, and then record it without reading it, because it looks really weird if
Mm,
you're just sitting there with a piece of paper reading on the video. And what I tell people is, if you have written it, then you have the logical flow in your head, and you might want to just do an outline first of, okay, I'm going to talk about this point, this point, this point. So make your 3 points. Maybe say, okay, how will I introduce myself? How will I close it? Because you want to always have those call to actions. So the call to
yeah,
action for a job interview could just be, and I'm really looking forward to working with ABC, Acme company. I'm really
yeah,
looking forward to learning more about this position, or something like that. So think of how you're going to start, think of how you're going to end. You got your 3 points. So now go write it out as an entire script. So you've
mm,
got your script, read it 3 times, put it down, turn on the camera, record it once, record it again, record it again. Do it 3 times, pick the best one, and then be done with it. Be done with
yeah,
it. Don't
yeah.
overthink it. Just be
I
done with it.
think the what you said about the end point is really important, because I can't tell you how many times I've got to the end of the video and you kind of have this mild panic about, what do I say now? Bye. Or so that's a really good point. Think about how you're going to end.
Yes,
Definitely.
and never, this is a tip from Toastmasters, never apologize. Don't be sitting there saying, I'm not, don't be telling them how much you're not comfortable being on camera. Just act
Yeah.
as if. And
Yeah.
sometimes that's actually a kind of a goofy trick that really
Mm,
works. That if you just kind of go, who do you admire? Act as if you were them. So, think of your favorite movie star, and it's like, okay, how would Sigourney Weaver from
mm.
Aliens do this video? She'd be just like, no nonsense. And,
Yeah, yeah,
it's
that's a
like,
good point.
just,
Visualize yourself in that
yeah,
zone. Yeah,
yeah,
good idea. So you can see Erica's said here, I like to use a post-it outline behind the camera. So yeah, it's a great idea, having something behind you. Just make sure they don't fall off. I know that's happened to me before, and then you kind of like panicking to look for them. But yeah, I
yes,
think post-it notes, or if you've got a wall behind you, maybe a flip chart with key points, anything like that, that's just going to give you confidence, and you'll probably find you don't need it. So like you've said, if you've written it out, you start to remember it, don't you? So
yep,
chances are you won't actually need it.
exactly.
Okay, so thanks for that. Okay, so we've already covered this. Should I get someone to review it? Absolutely.
That's a yeah, that's a tough one. To be honest with you, if I had to submit a video, I wouldn't ask somebody to review it
Yeah, true, 'cause it's
because
an application,
you're
isn't it?
so
Yeah.
tender. We're all
Mm,
so tender and we're so raw. And also too, maybe that other person is going to pick it apart and make you feel even worse. So
mm,
I think you know in your gut if it's good or not. And the other
mm.
people might not take the time to really, unless like, for instance, it's like your client, Sarah, if
Yeah.
you're their
Yeah.
career coach, they might say, okay, would you look at it? Of course you should see it. But
Yeah.
in terms of showing it to your spouse or your mother or your kids are bored anyways. They're going to be like, yeah,
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
want to look at your video, mom. But, so be very careful who you share stuff with because they might not be giving you the right feedback that you need because they might say, well, that's kind of boring. And you're like, but I'm applying for a job as an accountant. Like, how
Yeah,
exciting
yeah,
should I
exactly.
be?
Yeah, I suppose it's
Right?
like the CV, isn't it? If you give that to too many people, you're just gonna get so many opinions and it's not that helpful. So,
No, and
and
it could
also
lower your confidence. It
lower your
could lower your
confidence.
confidence.
Yeah.
But private coaching, so
Mm.
when you're doing like when we showed earlier the job coaching on
Yeah.
LinkedIn and the videos, that is a good thing to go to somebody who is probably more of a trusted colleague than,
Yeah.
somebody in your family. And you might want to go to them and just say, I would like your feedback because
Mm.
you know me and I just kind of need that. So in your practice sessions, I think that's great to show it to trusted colleagues, your
Yeah.
coach, whatever, to get that feedback. But if I was submitting something, I wouldn't send it because it's like I need to just feel good in my own self and let it
Yeah.
go. And
Perfect.
I think we obsess and overthink things and we
Yeah.
need to just stop it.
Yeah.
Stop it.
Good. Yeah. And I think that's the other thing, isn't it? If you're asking someone to review it, you need to give them the job application. They need to read what it is that the company's looking for. So actually you're putting quite a lot of work on them as well, aren't you?
That's right. And chances are they're not really gonna wanna do all that work.
No,
It'd be like,
exactly.
"You want me to
Yeah.
do what? That's
Yeah.
half a day."
Yeah. Oh dear. So last question, which again we have talked a bit about this already. So how do I make myself more comfortable doing this in future?
Just keep talking on video,
Yeah.
get comfortable. Nowadays, everybody can get a free Zoom account. And actually, I highly recommend everybody who's a job
Mm,
hunter get a free Zoom account because so many interviews are going to be via Zoom. You might want to get a Google Meet one too, just so that you could work with either or.
mm,
And if you continue to practice, like you can go on to Zoom and you can just start a meeting by yourself and you can record that meeting and then it downloads at the end. So you've got the recording of the meeting. And the good thing about doing something like that is number one, you can practice talking to yourself. So you could just do something stupid, like pretend you're just, okay, I'm going to talk about my day to day. Like think of it as a video diary and just yak, tell a
mm.
story or, whatever, just come up with something that you can talk about and then record those so that you get comfortable. Where am I looking in the right place? Am I looking down? Am I looking over here when I should be looking up there? Get comfortable with that. But it also helps you get comfortable with the technology so that when you get into a Zoom interview, you're not sitting there talking and the person's going, your mic's not on, your mic's not on,
Mm.
just all those things. And also too, you begin to go, oh, I got onto that Zoom call and I was recording and I heard messages booping and, all these different things. So now all of a sudden I'm realizing maybe I need a checklist of when I'm on an interview on Zoom, I better turn off my email. I better turn off my calendar notifications, all these different things.
Yeah.
Don't be like that cat guy, that lawyer guy that, showed up and all of a sudden the kids had the Zoom filters on and he looked like this cat. And that's the funniest video ever. Don't be that guy.
Don't be that guy, no. But depending on who you're applying for, I mean, that could work really well,
It could
but
work.
you need to know
And
your audience, don't you?
and it's funny, I did a very silly video, a couple of weeks ago, and I posted about using some of the Zoom filters that are in Zoom. I think you have to be on the premium account for them to be there, I
Mm,
think. Although I'm not sure, maybe they're for I've seen Jeff use them. So I think anybody can have them. And you can look like a pirate, you can look like a rabbit, rabbit ears and all these different kind of things. And the fun thing with that is that's a really way to take yourself a little bit lighter. And of course, you would never do that at a job interview, but it's a good part of practice because when we can be behind a mask, we can have a little fun and we can let our kind of inner child come out and play a little bit. So that's just a fun tip too.
yeah,
But
brilliant.
practice,
Thank you.
practice, practice.
Practice, practice, practice. Okay, so if oh, there's a helicopter going overhead. So if you do need some help, then please do follow Gillian. So I'm just going to put up her screen here. So this is Gillian's page. So as you can see, easy peasy video marketing coach. So Gillian is the expert. So please do follow her, and then you'll get to hear about her new group when she sets that up. And she's always sharing really useful tips.
And I do have 2 featured items specifically for job seekers today. So those are 2 videos that I put right to the front. And that is something that I would tell with people, make sure that you're using your featured section to put any kind of videos. If you've been on a LinkedIn Live, if you've done a video in your news feed, if you did that video a week ago, nobody's seeing it anymore. So take
Mm,
that video and pin it to your featured section so that
yeah,
if a recruiter does come and look at your LinkedIn page, they're going to say,
yeah,
"Oh, I can kind of get to know Sarah." Click and they can watch that video. So that's really good. And then the most
yeah.
important thing, Sarah, is everybody needs to be taking advantage of the LinkedIn video cover story.
Mm,
That is a huge thing. And if you have to do one video to start with in the public space, it is that LinkedIn cover story. And that is the only time I will tell people film in vertical mode. I don't usually, that's usually
yeah,
something I tell people to avoid. But for that
for the
specific
cover story.
one,
Yeah,
you do want to film that in vertical mode. And I do
yeah,
have an excellent article that tells you everything you need to know
yeah,
and gives examples and gives
yeah.
examples.
Brilliant. Right, I've seen one last question, which is not strictly about video, but so Farron's saying, I'm a fresh graduate, but every interviewer asks me about work experience. What can I tell them? Do you think it's the right question that the interviewer asks? So I think they will ask that. So I think you need to rely on things that you might have done in a voluntary capacity, things that you did at
Yes.
university or school. So any kind of example of where you've done any leadership or fundraising or anything like that, really, you need to try to bring an example in. So I think you need to be prepared for it. I think that's the crux of it, really.
Yes, and yeah, I agree 100%. It's like, I remember being in that situation. You're like, "How am
Mm,
I ever supposed to get any experience if everybody wants experience before you even start
mhm.
working?" It just seems crazy. And it's, one of the reasons why I remember when I had kids, I kept working at home just so I would never have a gap in my experience. But, you can look at all those volunteer things, and I've done tons of volunteer things throughout my life. And those just add you because you learn things, leadership skills, communication skills, whatever. So
Yeah,
tap on that volunteer experience.
yeah. There you go. And Jeff saying here, Julian helped me create my cover story and I love it. Thank you again, my video queen. So there you go. Endorsement
Thanks,
again
Jeff.
from Jeff. So that's about it for today. So thank you so much, Julian, for joining. It's been really great. Thank you to everyone that's been watching. I can see there's been a fair few people watching, which is really good. Next Wednesday at 12, I'll be on the 1080 page at 12 UK time. It is National Stress Awareness Week next week, apparently. So we're going to be talking about how to manage your stress when you're job hunting. So that's our regular career insight session. So if anyone's around and wants to watch that, then you'll be most welcome. So that's it, really. So thank you. I'll just leave that up there to say please follow Gillian. And thanks again for joining. So thanks, Gillian, and have a
Okay.
great weekend.
Thanks, Sarah. Bye.
Bye.